Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis are competing with each other to see who can be more extreme on culture war nonsense in their appeals to the MAGA base, with DeSantis going so far as to ban books in schools and give out tax breaks for gas stoves. And Marjorie Taylor Greene claimed at a committee hearing that elementary schools are spending billions of dollars on critical race theory. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. A central thing that Donald Trump revealed about the modern Republican Party is they don't have a coherent worldview or agenda. They're completely directionless. They're basically Roombas. When they bump into something they don't understand, they just head the opposite way. You can see that anytime Trump opens his mouth. He doesn't talk about policies or issues. He talks about manufactured right-wing grievances he heard about on Fox News. Here's one example from his recent campaign kickoff that, as far as I can tell, makes no sense whatsoever.
Every day for the United States, though, is April Fool's Day. This just occurred to me yesterday. Because I see what's happening, I say, what's going on? What's happening? What's wrong? It's like April Fools, right? We have open borders when they should be closed, April Fool's Day, right? We have prisoners and people from mental institutions and terrorists being dumped into our country when they should not be accepted, April Fools, right? We have people in the midst of the greatest crime wave in the history that wanted to fund our police. This is, again, April Fools. We have Antifa and BLM who hate our country and burn down our cities, and they're totally protected by law enforcement, and yet they put American patriots in jail. What's going on there? That's all April 1st, April 1st, April Fool's Day.
I know this goes without saying, those are all really bad April Fool's pranks. Every day is April Fool's Day. He sounds like he's pitching a sequel to Groundhog Day.
All right, so get this. I play a local sports anchor who gets stranded in a small town called Palm Beach, Florida. And every day I wake up and the alarm goes off and the same song plays, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go by Wham. So we'll have to pay to license that, or if it's too expensive, I'll just record a sound alike. Get me out of bed before you leave, leave. There, you go, that part's done. And then in the movie, I realize it's the same day all over again. April Fool's Day, April Fool's Day. But because it's always April Fool's Day, I can't be sure if it's the same day or if it's a prank to make me think it's the same day. Also, I learn nothing and drive off a cliff with a groundhog.
That's right, every day is April Fool's Day, and honestly, I don't know why he's complaining, because he's exactly the kind of dickhead who loves April Fool's Day. A holiday where I lie to people and then make fun of them when they believe me, I'm in. Trump is in a competition with his likely main rival for the GOP nomination, Ron DeSantis, to appeal to the MAGA base by throwing out as much red meat as possible. It's not about doing anything to improve people's lives. It's just about making the libs mad. Case in point, you might remember that after yet another study linked childhood asthma to gas stoves, there was some brief discussion about banning gas stoves, which the Biden administration quickly made clear it has no plans to do. Now, again, the study found that gas stoves carry roughly the same risk of childhood asthma as secondhand smoke, so it's not like switching away from gas stoves would be the worst thing in the world. I mean, honestly, aside from dirtbags who think it's cool to light their cigarettes with them, who cares? But Fox News lost its mind, and then Trump and DeSantis both followed suit. First, Trump said this.
We have proposed mandatory electric stoves. Think of that. And electric cars. They want mandatory stoves. And people that are cooks, I'm not much of a cook, but the cooks are saying gas is better. It's crazy what they're doing. It's crazy.
You know, you don't need to say I'm not much of a cook. No one believes you've ever cooked anything in your life unless microwaving a 3-day-old fillet of fish you found in your golf bag counts as cooking. Still warm. Clearly, if anyone cooks in the Trump family, it's Melania. Donald, you've barely touched your diamonds. For real. No one has ever looked at this picture and thought, well, there's a man who knows his way around a spice rack. I can't even imagine what Donald Trump cooking something would look like. To begin with, his skin is so leathery and thick, I fully believe he could have his hand on a hot skillet for 10 minutes without noticing.
Is someone cooking ham? It's a son of a gun. It was my hand again, false alarm.
So that was Trump's reaction. DeSantis then had to outdo him. You see, DeSantis' entire agenda is just taking Fox News segments and turning them into policies. He staged that awful migrant stunt where he dropped them off on Martha's Vineyard without telling them where they were going. He moved to ban supposedly woke books from schools, including woke math books. And then this week, he introduced a tax break for gas stoves.
We just added, because I think it needs to be done, no tax permanently on gas stoves. They want your gas stove, and we're not going to let that happen. You know, this is ridiculous that they do want to go after it. They got blowback, so they kind of had to back off. They want to go after the gas stoves, and so we're saying, you know, we want you to be able to buy those free of charge from the state of Florida for taxes.
All right, first of all, this dude is trying so hard to mimic Trump's hand movements. What is this thing? What is this thing they both do with their hands, going out and then back in over and over again, like they're playing an invisible accordion? They both look like flightless birds who aren't willing to give up on the dream. But Ron, you're an emu. It doesn't matter what you are, as long as you believe. I mean, I've never seen anyone do this unless they were defending themselves from accusation of wrongdoing or showing up to a party they weren't invited to. Hey, it's me, Uncle Terry. I know you don't want me here. After I stole your purse, but I come bearing gifts. I got Marlboro Lights and some lotto tickets for the kids. Hey, speaking of Marlboro, you guys still got that gas stove? Terry no got his lighty. Second, not only is this stunt dumb according to science, it's dumb according to the residents of his own state, because the vast majority of stoves in Florida are already electric. Just 8% of homes in the state use gas stoves, with 92% choosing electric. That's the lowest rate of gas stove use in the country. Oh my God! Florida uses electric stoves, but that can only mean one thing. Florida is woke.
April Fools.
Think about how dumb that is. He wants a tax break for a thing his own residents don't use just because it'll make the libs mad. Also, a tax break for gas stoves is so boring. At least when Trump does the culture wars, he goes all out.
Antifa is coming to your house to take away your gas stove and kill Santa Claus. They want to murder? They want to murder Santa because he's not woke. They want to cancel Christmas and replace it with?
April Fool's Day.
I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen in the GOP primary, and I've certainly been wrong before, but I'm just not sure DeSantis has what it takes. If you hired the world's greatest scientist to build someone in a lab for Trump to make fun of, you couldn't do better. I mean, he's shorter than Trump. He stands weird. He's got those fancy little white boots. His full name is Ronald Dion DeSantis. That's 100% true. I'm not saying DeSantis won't win, but Trump's going to have a field day with this dork.
Many people are saying Ron Celine Dion DeSantis likes to wear big white go-go boots, so he seems taller than he is. He's a very short man. It's very sad. And that way he stands with his chest puffed out like a pigeon who stole a French fry.
Trump and DeSantis, they're just competing to see who can win the right-wing culture wars. That's why DeSantis has built his entire agenda around culture war nonsense. In fact, this week, a viral video found at least one school library in Florida that was basically empty because of DeSantis' dumb rules against supposedly woke subject matter in schools.
It's a video that's been viewed more than 5 million times. Empty library shelves at Mandarin Middle School, taken by a substitute teacher who says he's at a loss for words as the school reviews the content of its books following guidelines from the state. Schools are now required to review their libraries and teachers' classroom book collections to make sure that they don't violate certain subject matter outlined by the state of Florida.
I've never heard of a library that was simply out of books. That sounds like an excuse your kids would use if you sent them to the library to do their homework and they skipped it to smoke weed at a strip mall. And when you confronted them, they'd probably just stand like Ron DeSantis. Kevin, where are all your books? Oh, they were, out. The library. The library was all out of books. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take off. And I do hope every pundit who claim the left is responsible for cancel culture is losing their minds at all the books coming off school shelves, because this isn't theoretical, it's real. Teachers, librarians, school districts, they say they have no idea what's allowed and what's not under DeSantis' censorship laws. So the result is this. This obsession with critical race theory has gotten so insane, it came up at a congressional hearing yesterday on Pandemicate. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who now has been put back on committees by Republican leadership after she was kicked off by Democrats, asked the Comptroller General of the United States how much pandemic money had been spent on critical race theory. Now, that's already an absurd question, which clearly flustered the witness, but pay attention to the amount of money she claims one school received to promote CRT.
Mr. Dodaro, can you tell me how much COVID cash went to CRT?
CRT?
Critical race theory in education.
No, I do not know that, but I do know that there's provisions that the federal funds generally are not used, are supposed to be used for curriculum.
Oh.
That it's a state.
Oh, Mr. Dodaro, I have to tell you, in Illinois, they received $5.1 billion at an elementary school there that used it for equity and diversity.
If that's true, which it's not, I would think the problem would be less CRT and more that one elementary school got $5.1 billion. She really said one school got $5.1 billion. If that were true, other schools would be so jealous. We had to hold a bake sale for new soccer jerseys. We just financed the last 2 Avatar movies. Which, by the way, movies which I'm guessing Green also thinks are real. The deep state doesn't want you to know that all those people turned blue from the COVID vaccine. And they're 3D now. So that's who the GOP thinks should be able to serve on committees. Meanwhile, today, they voted to kick Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, a refugee and one of the only 2 Muslim women in the House, off the Foreign Affairs Committee for the simple reason that they don't like her or her point of view. And by the way, that's not just me saying that. Even Matt Gaetz, one of the Trumpiest members of the GOP, a guy who tried to overturn the 2020 election and lied about the January 6th insurrection, admitted as much this week.
The reason I think a lot of Republicans want to kick Ilhan Omar off of the Foreign Affairs Committee is because they don't like what she has to say.
You know how up something has to be for me to agree with Matt Gaetz? The only other thing we see eye to eye on are the benefits of large foreheads. We see eye to eye, forehead to forehead. And yet, even after admitting what was really going on here, Gaetz still voted with his fellow Republicans today to remove Omar. He didn't even have the courage to vote no on the resolution, even though he apparently had the courage to wear this suit. I mean, look at that. Looks like a bad guy from a futuristic video game called Disco Crime 3000. Republicans are censoring books in schools, removing people from committees whose opinions they don't like, and yet they're the ones whining about cancel culture. The right is fully in favor of censorship when it suits them. There's only one day a year when Republicans can say they're defenders of free speech, and that's
April Fool's Day.
This has been a closer look, everybody.